those who have traveled from afar to come to Chicago. You have the distinction of being the largest supernatural convention in the history of supernatural. Here next year, crash the place. Or we're going to answer questions in a civilized manner. So how's it going so far? Who's new? Who has never? Wow, a lot of you are new. That's actually tricky. Normally, we like to have a smaller number, the influx of newbies, the virgins at the convention. We like to have a smaller number so that those of us who have been here before, we can outnumber them and haze them properly. There may be too many of you for us to think that news thing is anxiety, but what is causing the limit? Okay, so this is me, I'm me. So when I touch you like this, does that help? That helps? You feel better? He says yes. And therapy worked. Suddenly, in near proximity to me, I see lots of people who are claiming to be nervous all the time. Unbuttoning their blouses and claiming to be nervous. There's somebody right there who's nervous in that name. Yesterday was the 24th anniversary of us starting the date. Thank you very much. That's the kind of stat that we would expect to be getting from an elderly retirement community couple. You know, not somebody. Oh, maybe I'm more elderly than I thought. 16. Who in the audience is 16 years old? You are 16 years old. It works better. We are gonna get through this, even if it takes us all night. Yes, I can do it. I'm going to speak in a very slow and measured manner. I seem to start every phrase with an Come on. I'm noticing the impulse to do that right now. But I'm not doing it. There was an online piece of software that was designed to redact all of the spoken words that a speaker speaks, leaving only the breaths and meaningless filler sounds left. And they compared all of the candidates for you win this round. I compared all of the candidates who were running. Shit! The expletives that are the fillers now. Now I'm so self-conscious. You just ruined this for me. I'm going to be able to come up on stage and feel anything other than self-lulling. They had the software, and all of the people who were running for governor of California, including Arnold Schwarzenegger and Ariana Grande. Who is very, very brilliant. were just the breath coming in, and she was on it. She didn't have any fillers, ums, ers, whatnot. Schwarzenegger was a train wreck of ums and as would yours truly be, were actually run through this miserable filter. Anyway, return to your seat. A young person. I have conscious memories of knowing that I should figure out what I want to do when I grow up, because people always ask you, I don't know, were you a kid? No, okay, I was, and I remember grown-ups asking me what I wanted to be when I grow up. And I had no idea. My brother, younger than I was, already knew that he wanted to be a train conductor. No, I can't. I'm proving to an audience of 2,000 people that I can't already. Yes. So, I wanted to be a writer fairly early on. I wanted to be a director. I liked movies. I thought I used to walk around as a kid and I would see something like a loudspeaker at a fairgrounds saying something that didn't quite make sense. You know, it was kind of out of context. And I thought, someday I'm going to be a director and I'll put that in a movie, which is not really terribly focused career planning. But I also wanted to be a politician. I say constantly. I'm gonna have to get like a speech therapist now. I'll probably be more excited because of this. This is a real ego booster. A pleasure coming out here and talking to you. What were we talking about? Oh, what we want to be when we grow up. Seriously, how do you get it out? I know. I've got to get one of those shock collars. Every time I say, zap, little zap. Biofeedback? That can help? Maybe. You're not sure in my case. It might be too serious. That would work. Out of unfortunate ego I had as a child, I thought that this was a legitimate idea. Yeah, sure, go for it. Be president. And I thought that all the way up to college. I was still thinking, I think I'm going to try to be president when I grow up. Totally delusional. Thank you. I'm like a 16-year-old. So suck it. How old are you? 19? Yeah. Great. You don't even know what my platform is, you guys. Don't put your votes away yet. My platform, but this is not the proper format for me to hash out my platform because I'm very rattled right now about my speech impediment. Really going off the rails. I'm going on tangents here, but I had a conversation, I believe yesterday, with my wife about, we were going on a walk, and it was a long walk, and we needed something to talk about. So I said, so what do you, and she said, she filled in for me, want to do with my life? And I said, sure, yeah, what do you want to do with your life? And she said, I don't know, I'm trying to figure that out. And it was kind of an interesting moment that we then broke down further and realized that we didn't really think about our lives that way anymore. we weren't really measuring ourselves. We're not thinking about measuring our lives according to what we're doing. We're hoping, ideally, just to have happy, good lives. And that at your earliest convenience, consult a speech therapist. Because you could find yourself on stage in front of 2,000 people at some point and suddenly realize that you hadn't buttoned up that aspect of your performance. And it could really be scarring for you. So you don't want to find yourself in that situation. It's a catch-all. Be persistent and ambitious. Dream. I think if you really sort of set your sights on something big, and kind of allow yourself to believe it can actually happen. But you have to be persistent, you have to stick it out, and you have to not give up. Even if, even if you have to forge on, even if you find that you're saying all the time. Plow through that, and not give up. This is a career that has been likened to drug dealing. In that it is, what's the guy that wrote Freakonomics? I can't remember his name. Yes, Stephen Levitt? Levitt. Stephen Levitt lumps acting and drug dealing into the same category of careers, just so you know. Because basically, both are, you have really terrible odds of actually making good money at it. There's very few drug dealers that rise to the top and end up getting an Escalade. Likewise, there are very few actors who can get an Escalade. And those odds are so terrible that you have to be a little bit crazy to go after it if you really want to make a career of it. But the thing that makes it work is being persistent. In my career, it took me a long time to really be making a good, decent living at acting, and I watched a lot of people fall by the wayside along the way. A lot of friends who I thought would be in for the long haul moved, out of Los Angeles, started teaching, started their careers, gave up. So you have to be the one that doesn't give up, the one that's so crazy that you don't give up. So be crazy. There's one. Jared Padalecki. And I look up to him because he's simply so tall. And that's a good question. There are people whose careers and work I really respect, and there are people who I respect for living really righteous, spiritual lives. Gandhi is impressive. Martin Luther King was impressive. Sacha Baron Cohen is impressive. I love what that man did. I was just rewatching the Ali G show recently. Unbelievable. If anyone has not seen the HBO Ali G series, treat yourself to watch it. It's amazing what he pulled off. He really, there it is again. Beat that shot clock. Unfortunately, because of casting problems, we can't continue to have this character be super tough, badass all the time. Because there's a very heavy undercurrent of dork that seems to be coming through on screen. So they started writing to accommodate that, and I think that's how the character kind of evolved. Yeah, I actually don't know that song. It could be like really an insult or something.
I think it's just beautiful that you are yourself, you know these crazy things, you're not afraid to say what you want, be who you are. So like, what advice would you give people to be creative and do crazy things and just be out there like you are and kind of come into yourself and be yourself?
I thank you for saying that, that's very nice. I do not feel like that's an accurate portrayal of me. I feel I'm hard on myself for not being more courageous about being great. I think that it's nice to break out of convention. not this kind of convention. Leave. He sat there right down. He left. We were so glad we did. We sang so much. It was crazy. It's very, this is becoming increasingly difficult for me because there is a voice in my head that is now monitoring the frequency and volume of my ums. It's taking up quite a bit of my focus. I didn't know that about myself. Twice about following all kinds of rules that are somewhat arbitrary. Like you probably always go into the women's bathroom, right? When did that rule get invented? Why do men and women go into different bathrooms? It's kind of weird, right? But we think that it's, oh shit, here he comes. I don't know, I think the best thing, I think that it's sort of everybody's job to monitor all of these normal rules that we're supposed to be following. And at least try to be aware that you're following a rule when you are, rather than walking on autopilot and assuming that what you're doing is normal and natural. There's that word again. I hate it. It is. My father worked at 7-Eleven briefly when I was probably 4, and I remember this was the late 70s. He was very much a hippie, very much a pot-smoking guitar player. He was having a hippie in the 70s working at 7-Eleven, and he was a crap employee. I was 4 years old, and I remember it clearly, and I was aware at the time that he was a crap employee, because he would bring his 2 children with him when he was on the shift, and we would just eat. That's where we ate. And it was great, because you just ate whatever. And you threw out the back, and you were done with it. That was the employee discount that he got. 100% discount. It does seem though like it's waiting for the thought to catch up with you. It's like it's giving a pause so that a thought can form. Which to me sounds like the thought is not forming terribly quickly. No?
No, you can look it up. There are reports and studies done that does indicate that.
You do it too, huh? Yeah, obviously, reports and studies commissioned by people who have this power thing, right? They're paying the scientists off to corroborate their self-assessment as intelligent. But,
I would imagine.
Okay.
Given the wealth of backstory inherent with the heaven and hell storyline to Supernatural, what would be your opinion of taking over the lead for a spin-off that centers around that?
All right.
All aspect, the whole background to the apocalypse, what things were changed.
I think it would be great because I would like to play Castiel until I die. I can see that happening. They have to do some sort of spin-off at some point, right? So, yeah. Otherwise, I could just do community theater as Castiel, which is another viable option. Yeah, where it runs forever, but instead of replacing the cast just gets super old. Really?
Yeah.
Oh no, why did I make you cry?
You're being fucking college!
Wait, why were you standing in line?
Waiting to ask you a question.
To ask this question?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Right, I was so limply answering. I didn't realize we waited so long. That would have been bad. Okay, let's take it seriously.
I think that it's
So have you all been waiting? You've been waiting, you people have been waiting for an hour? You realize you're not going to get to answer your questions, ask your questions, right? And just, it's not a great investment of time if you're at the back of the line. If you're not going to get to the front. Never happens. I'm too slow. You know, if I took out all those ums, I could probably get through people, but I have too many fillers. Let's stop talking about it and get to this boardroom discussion. She's been waiting for over an hour.
I think that it's a surprise that Castiel and Charlie haven't met yet. What do you think a scene between them would be like?
It would be awesome. I love Felicia Day. She's fantastic. I would love to work with her on anything. Felicia, I would love to work with you on anything. You're great. My mother monitors the internet. She's my NSA, and she sends me emails of things like that I should check out. You gotta check this out. Gotta pay attention. She tries to use subject headings that up the stakes to get me to read it. Like, this is key. You got to read this one. All caps, triple exclamation mark. Like, really tries to get through. Which, of course, you know, all saying about Brian Wolf eventually. Not really sure that anything is key anymore. But she sent me something yesterday that Felicia Day wrote on Gamergate. Very well worded. I don't still know what Gamergate is, so
Misogynistic assholes.
misogynistic assholes. It's a little bit controversial, but I'm going to say I'm against that. That's all misogyny. I know some rebels from competitors here, but so she has written a book. Felicia Day has written notes. She's been working on it feverishly. It's going to be great. I assume, based on what I've read, that she has written on Tumblr. I'm looking forward. I guess that means my mother spends a lot of time on Tumblr. I never really pieced that together. This has been an afternoon of firsts. My mom reads slash fiction. Some people are, she writes it.
There's some other people in the line bumping.
Are we done with this conversation? I think we're done.
Okay, I love your face.
Thanks. Wait, what did you say?
I had some.
Oh, I'm sweating and blushing now.
My question is, what was your favorite story growing up and why?
My favorite story growing up? I love stories that my mom will tell about her life. One of the ones that lives in a kennel. That's really the key ingredient. If there's a dog in it, it's a much better story. So, any writers out there, a little tip for me. Have a dog. It seems to appeal to the kids. Don't kill the dog. Yes, that's actually very good. So Yes, so I read a lot of stories to him, so I'm always looking for new books for him. So I bought him Tintin. I brought him a Tintin book, started reading it. And there's an awful lot of machine guns and kills, which I forgot about in Tintin. And I edit that kind of, I edit out words like ugly or things that involve killing and war, things like that. So you have to do a lot of editing when you're reading Tintin. So we're not reading a lot of Tintin anymore. That book magically disappeared. Anyway, my favorite, my mom read, why am I going on these weird tangents? My mom read this book, A Wonderful Fashion Guide, to me and my brother when I was 7. I loved it. I loved this book. It was the book that we actually read was from the late 1800s, I think. It was a really tattered, very old volume of this sort of strange story about a doll, a wonderful fashion doll. And I brought it into school to show the other kids in 2nd grade. Isn't this a fantastic book? They did not think it was fantastic. At the time, my mother was also dressing me occasionally in pink tights when I went to school, which I thought, oh, these look snazzy. Bringing the wonderful fashion doll into 2nd grade in pink tights made me not popular with my fellow male classmates. Yes, that's another story. So, the book that I really loved was Tom Brown's Tracker. And it was a book about these 2 kids in New Jersey who found this old Indian guy, a Native American, who knew everything about tracking. He knew the old Indian, ways of tracking. And these 2 white kids, actually, one of them wasn't white, but Tom Brown, the author, is white, and he was this sort of New Jersey kid who learned everything about tracking and wilderness survival in the New Jersey woods and became one of the greatest trackers in America. And he's still alive. He's teaching tracking school, which I don't know to at some point. But it's a great, really great adventure stories about surviving in the woods. Sorry, it's boring. It's true. Hi. They actually, so I gave a version of the cut to the producers to look at, and they cut a lot of stuff out, which made us look, according to them, too deplorable. It's really hilarious stuff. But the problem ultimately ended up being that it then got toned back to where it was kind of more plausible, and kind of, I think a lot of people watch it and think, oh yeah, that's what those guys are like. They're kind of meatbags, aren't they? Whereas the version that I had, we were so ridiculously douchey that I would like think you would know it wasn't real. But anyway, thank you for giving that for me.
There's people in this room that probably wouldn't be here. And my question was, what further things do you think could happen with the human test storyline? Because we're all really disappointed kind of that it got cut so it worked. So is there anything that you would have liked to have been explored?
Yeah, I think there were lots of things that, it would have been fun to play around with that for a whole year. What? Shall we get into this discussion? Okay, let's not. So, I think that there was a year's worth of material to mine there, or more. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that we could have done. Being human is complicated. Learning how to be a human being is something that takes people all their lives. So, getting to compress that into one season of television is a lot of fun. But I think that the show does a pretty good job in general of making the audience want more, leaving them wishing that they had delved into something deeper. I think that they did that with Demon. We could have watched him be a demon for another 5 or 6 episodes, and it would have been cool. But I think that they stopped so at a place where we want more, and we're not sick of it yet. So it's good because it makes us mad at the writers. But they know what they're doing. I think that they're doing it to keep us wanting more. So there. hero. That was my favorite show. Have you seen it? You have. Only those of us who are 50 and older have seen it. It was so exciting that it came on. It was about this guy who was a total dork who was a superhero. Kind of like Castiel. Me? Yeah. Well, yes, right? Technically, I'm not Castiel. You know, you are aware of that, right? What? This is an awkward. Hello, there's my Santa Claus moment. Sorry, I didn't want to tell you that. It's something your parents should break to you. Yeah, I would want to be Castiel. I would like to be Castiel and possess his superpowers. You know, the power to magically repair your wardrobe. After stabbed, you were stabbed, and now there's no hole. Probably. Yes, very serious exchange about animals.
Yeah.
And you said your favorite animal too, right?
Yeah.
What was it?
Vampire bats?
Do you still fancy vampire bats, or have you changed your opinion?
I still like them.
Really? Have you ever seen one in person?
I think when I was little.
You in a dream, maybe. Do you want to talk about animals now?
Why not?
What other kinds of animals are you into?
I like gorillas.
Gorillas? They're pretty great. Yeah. We just went to the zoo, and they're a big hit. Meerkats are a big hit with my kids. I don't know if you know what those are, or I don't know what they are either. I don't know how they work their way into the consciousness of my children. They love meerkats, and they call them mirror cats. Watch out for me, or don't trip. Oh, that is a hazard, isn't it? I used to work on a llama farm when I was in high school. Oh, are you being told that you have to go?
No, she told me, you don't forget my actual question.
Oh, that's another question. I used to work on a llama farm. I was in high school, and I did things like weed whack. I used a weed whacker to cut down thistles, and I repaired fences, and I spun yarn, and I also helped tend to the llamas. Do you know much about llamas?
They spit.
They spit. They're actually kind of unpleasant. Their wool is almost useless. It's very scratchy. They can't carry large loads. They're pretty much totally useless. Yet they eat llamas for some reason. And the other problem with llamas in captivity is that you can't get them to mate without getting involved yourself. Did you know that? I think you did. That's true. What is your question? Wait, what?
If you could have been anybody else on Supernatural, who would you?
That's a very good question. Crowley? Yeah, that's good. Nice bird. Because who doesn't want to be Oswald's mom? Mary Winchester? That's not a bad idea. He'll play with himself all day. What, I slip that in there, but I guess this thing is on, isn't it? What character would you rather be on Supernatural?
Either the trickster or Crowley or Body.
Oh, you have narrowed it down, right? So that's I would recommend, in your case, for you, just knowing you the way I do, and since you're into vampire bats, probably Crowley is your guy. I would go for that. But are you gonna? What are you wearing for Halloween?
I think I'm going to be Katniss Everdeen from the Hunger Games.
Oh, great. That's Do you have a pair of matching socks? Because she wears matching socks.
3 minutes?
I think we can get through all these questions. Maybe magic. I'll have a dick.
Probably someone in the audience who thinks you're being serious.
Yes. Well, they probably left about a half an hour ago. I think that this is a unique situation. This community of people, there are a lot of people who have had, I mean, everybody has hard lives, have difficult experiences at some point in their lives. But I think this is a community of people that has a disproportionate number of people who have struggled in some way or another. And I think that is a big part of the glue that holds the Supernatural fandom together. It's something, would you agree with what I'm saying?
I do.
And I think that it is a lovely, organic phenomenon that all of these people have come together and provide this incredible network of support to one another. If somebody is having a hard time in the Supernatural fandom, and I have seen this repeatedly, and they give some indication of that online or at a convention or in person to another Supernatural fan, over and over again you see people leaping to one another's aid, rendering really, really generous acts of support to one another. And so yeah, my advice is lean on this amazing community of people. And and we in the past have done that with one another. Rob had a shitty medical situation a year ago, and I think that, being a part of this community, you just want to help one another. So know that there's people out there that want to help you, and lean on them. And if they aren't helpful, tell them to fuck off.
I want to go with that. That demon,
I don't know. Honestly, I think that everybody on this show has gone literally it may be the only show on television where you can say that all the leads on the show have been to hell and back.
So I think it's also get off driving on Friends.
Friends, that's right, that was the other one. Friends and Seinfeld, those are the other two shows. And so I think that everybody has been through, has such hell, actually, in this case, literally on the show, that I think we're past, I don't know. Oh, now you are done.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it all we love it. You're wearing a tie. Good to go.